Oh, there's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I seriously considered skipping Friday Reads this week because I don't have a lot to tell you. So this is going to be, my intention at the beginning of the video is that this is going to be quick and dirty. I'm not sure how dirty, but it's going to be quick because, yeah, I didn't bail on anything, I didn't finish anything. I wasn't supposed to start anything, but I did start 2 books. Actually, that's not true. I forgot that I was supposed to start a buddy read with Joe, who comments on all our videos so delightfully. And that is Edwidge Danticat's newest short story collection, Everything Inside. I think it just came out a few months ago. And we've just done one story, and I got so confused by the way that Scribd labeled the audiobook. The first file on the audiobook was called Introduction, so as I always do, I just skipped it and went to file number 2. They don't put the titles or anything in there on the audiobooks. I don't think anybody does, do they? And listen to a short story, but in fact I finally figured out by the end that no, the first short story was in file number 1, so I haven't read the first story yet, and Joe very graciously accommodated my screw-up. So I've only read the second story in the book. Of course, we'll go back and read the first story next week, but I didn't really love the second story very much, which it's just a little small bit of confirmation that I don't think Danticat is a short story writer as much as she's a novelist. I didn't really love Crick Crack either, but loved her famous novel, the title of which I always forget, Breath, Eyes, Memory. I would like to read more of her novels and perhaps less of her short stories, but it's still early days. Fingers crossed that I like. I didn't hate the story that we read this week, but I didn't care for it too much. So that happened, and I also started, I have not mentioned, so I have a few things to mention that are kind of outside the norm of what I typically do on Friday Reads. Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventures and Britta of Britta Bowler have started a, what would you call it? It's a reading challenge. It's a reading challenge, reading German books in 2020, that I am really excited about because I have read a smattering of fantastic German novels over the last few years, and I'm going to specialize. I'm going to do a deep dive on German fiction in 2020. I will be doing a TBR or Pile of Possibilities video once more of the books come in from you know where in the mail. But I started my challenge with a collection of short stories that Britta recommended. German Women Writers of the 20th Century. There's nothing in the title or subtitle about it being an anthology of short fiction, but that's in fact what it is, with really great page or page and a half long introductions to the writers. It's edited by Elizabeth R. Herman and Edna Huttenmeyer Spitz, by the way. And I've only read a story and a half. I won't try to characterize those stories or try to pronounce those German names without help, but just to say that I'm really enjoying it so far. It's available on Scribd because it's really expensive as a book, and it's women writers, so bonus. Stay tuned for much more from me, probably in January, as I start to roll out my plans for this fabulous reading challenge. So those are the 2 that I have started. The other shout-out thing that I wanted to definitely make time for here is Alan Morton. He's my BookTube son, is that right? I kind of encouraged him, and I don't think I was maybe the only one to encourage him, but certainly I did encourage him to come on to BookTube. And he is doing a reading challenge. I missed the video because it went up 3 weeks ago. I totally missed it, but was alerted to it when Byways in Bookland referred to it because he's also doing it. It's Reading Chunksters for Charity Challenge. I will put a link to Alan Morton's announcement video and also Byways in Bookland's video. And it sounds fabulous. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to participate. I do plan to read some Chunksters this year. I don't think that I'm willing to bring more onto my TBR for the year to participate meaningfully, so I might just financially support one of these guys or both of these guys as they read. They're Chunksters, and the charity is Book Aid International, which is a charity based in the UK, which doesn't matter. You don't have to live in the UK to want to support these people, because they are providing books and libraries, I think, and books to people all over the world. You can find more information about all that on Alan's channel and presumably Byways and Bookland's channel, but I think it's a fabulous idea. Alright, so I thought, since I didn't have anything much to tell you, I'd just do something I only do once or twice a year, which is just kind of a summary of where I'm at with various books. So the book that I've had on my TBR the longest is Clarissa by Samuel Richardson. This is an audiobook, part 1. Part 1 is 34 hours. I am almost 40% of the way through it, but that has taken me maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I haven't been making time for it. Whenever I dip into it, as long as I dip into it once every 10 days or so, I'm still really following the thread of it, and unlike the people who've commented when I've mentioned it before, I absolutely love it. I consider it to be a feminist classic. 40% of the way into Volume 1, 34 hours, then there's Volume 2, presumably another 34 hours, but I'm here for the long haul. And then I have been reading this biography of the Pankhursts, the Suffragette Family, the history of one radical family by Martin Pugh. The book itself is not great, but the way that I'm reading it is making it a really deep and enriching reading experience for me. I read about a page. It takes me 20 minutes per page often, because I'm Googling everything and just going down this rabbit hole and that rabbit hole. So I'm 78% of the way through it. It's probably going to take me another month or two, unless I decide to make a burst of effort just so that I can finish one book in January, because this is the one that would be the most likely, other than some smaller books. But I'm really enjoying immersing myself in the history. And the book, it's good enough as a vessel for me to kind of play around and go down rabbit holes. So Heidi and I will be finishing our long-term buddy read of Amanda O'Callaghan's short story collection, This Taste for Silence. There's one 35 or 40 page story at the end. That's all we have left, so we will be finished that early next week, and I will save my comments on that until I've finished. I am still reading The Overstory by Richard Powers, another carryover from last year, and I am a third of the way through it. I'm just past the point where multiple commenters and fellow booktubers have said they started to lose the thread of the novel after about page 150. I'm 15 pages past that, and I can see what they're saying. I'm not sure if it's going to lose me or not, but I certainly thought the first 150 pages introducing the various characters in kind of standalone short stories, I thought most of them were really, really powerful, and I'm still enjoying it very much. So I think I might finish it this year. And then in terms of what I started on New Year's Day, Duck's Newburyport, making very slow progress with this. I have read 10 pages a day, but not every day. So I was on page 40. I've read 20 pages since you saw me last. So I've got quite a few on the go here, and it's been a bit of a week. So I haven't done as much reading as I would have hoped. But that's okay. It's still really quite indescribably enthralling. I am a third of the way through the Barbara Pym novel, Crampton Hodnett, and I have to say, if this keeps up, this is going to be one of my favorites. This is potentially on the upper tier with Some Tame Gazelle, A Glass of Blessings, and No Fond Return of Love. This one is just filling me with joy. It's so Pymmian. I love it so much. So I might be doing a full review to try to be a little bit more eloquent about why, but stay tuned. Really loving that. This one is still going extremely well. Norman Collins's London Belongs to Me. This is a buddy read with Amy of Zoe Beck, and we are both really enjoying it. I don't have any misgivings. If you put a gun to my head and said, come on, you must have at least one misgiving, what is it? I would say it's so funny. Have a bit of a niggling, it's like infinitesimal concern that it might end up detracting from sort of being anything more than funny, but it's so good. I burst out laughing every 2 pages. characters are so well drawn. It's really a great find at the beginning of 2020. A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. This is a buddy read with Lindy, and we are both absolutely loving it. I think one of the books that Lindy and I first bonded over on Litzy was Life After Life. She had read it earlier than me, but I was putting up all kinds of quotes, and she had so many comments because she had read it and loved it as much as I did. But then it was when I was reading Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Tien. She had only recently read it, and that's when she says, "Oh, I think Sean's tastes and minds overlap quite deeply at times." And this is one of those times. This is so different from Life After Life. It's just a meaty literary novel. And also with humor. And just, yeah. Oh. I have now read the second story in Helen Garner's stories. And I liked it even better, I think. Maybe I'll end with this. I stumbled upon a blog called A Personal Anthology. I will put a link in the show notes. And this blog is multiply authored. There are multiple contributors. It's maybe once a week or once a month, I'm not sure. A quote-unquote professional literary person takes over the blog and talks about and introduces their favorite short stories. It was the introduction by Sarah Crown, who I believe is an editor at Times Literary Supplement. If I've gotten that wrong, I'm not going to take the time to correct it, to look it up now, but if it needs to be corrected, I'll put it here. But this is what she wrote in her introduction. And she's talking about how she never liked short stories, and then she was eventually won over. The moment of conversion, of revelation really, came for me with Alice Munro's collection Runaway, which I'll talk about in a bit. I read these stories and finally, fully got it. Those spaces which surround and Swiss cheese short stories, which I had perceived as absences, are precisely where their power lies. Novels and poems offer to me, completion, satisfaction, the sense of something wrapped up and fully realized. They meet needs and provide answers. Short stories do the opposite. They're liminal. They're gestural. They give something but not everything. They leave you wanting more. The best of them require you to fill in the edges, leave you feeling exposed, raw, and incomplete. They don't answer questions. They pose them. And it's stories that do this which, give or take, I've focused on here. Turns out, when it came to short stories, the problem was me. I've grown up now. I can cope with unanswered questions. To me, that's one of the most articulate expressions of what it is that I love about a good short story. I'm not a big fan of the word liminal, although the last time I said that on this channel, some of you said it's a wonderful word, but I just don't think anybody really knows what it means, or everybody has a different meaning for it. But new, something not quite, hasn't been quite pinned down, something kind of budding. But this paragraph I really have been thinking about as I have begun the Helen Garner collection. And the second story, yes, I did read these ones in order. Postcards from Surfers. There are so many quote-unquote absences that I was left wanting more, and that was a satisfactory feeling rather than a feeling that there was something missing. So I want to think more about that as I read all the short stories I'm planning to read this year, and you can see I've already got 3 collections on the go. Alright, so yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.